Establishing an effective note-taking method is really important to help recall information that would otherwise be lost, and also to produce organised revision materials for your study sessions.
When I'm being taught verbally, I would generally write down any keywords and terms my lecturer has just said, and write a brief description around these to make sense of them, as it can be too hard to write down exactly what the lecturer says.
If you ask your lecturers, most lecturers will publish their PowerPoints on CCG Online before the lectures, which I find is very useful because I can get better notes doing it before the lesson and then adding to it during, so I can take more in what the teacher's saying rather than concentrating on trying to write everything down.
I also use symbols like using a plus instead of and, or an equal sign to represent the result of something, or arrows to represent increases or decreases.
I use arrows a lot throughout my notes because I find them really easy to look at and follow, and you can't really get mixed up with anything. So another way I'd use arrows would be when two things are being compared. So I get the main topic from the first part of what the paragraph or what your lecturer is telling you, and then put that topic at the top of your page, draw an arrow across to the next thing that they're comparing it to. That's a lot easier to look at than just a block of writing.
My notes are taken in a shortened form to maximise my time-space efficiency. All that means is that I use less space and less time to write the same notes.
A technique I would use when taking notes is to précis it, as this means that you're not writing down loads of notes that you don't really need. Précis basically means summarising it.
When being taught verbally, I find that it's a lot harder to keep up with the fast pace that teachers tend to speak at. So a good tip that I have is to ask if you can record the lecture on your phone and then listen back to it at home and make notes that way.
I find that having visual aids helps me to retain some of the information that I've put in. So sometimes I use mind maps so that I can sort of chain off of one idea to the next.
When taking notes from a text, I'll write the page number of where I got it from, either from a textbook or the internet, wherever it's from, and the title of that piece. I will then pick out any key points from and list them in a bullet point sort of way. This way, when I come to revise, I can find where I got the original points from and add anything that I may have missed.
If I'm at home in front of a textbook, I don't take notes when I initially read it. I like to try and comprehend the text, understand it, and then go back and write what I can remember, and then check it, and then add with a red pen what I haven't got.
I find it important to actively think about the notes I'm taking, so what I'll do is I'll read the text or watch the video, think about the most useful bits of information, and then take notes in my own words, often in bullet point format.
When it comes to taking notes, you need to see what works best for you, whether this is writing paragraphs and paragraphs, taking quick notes and summarising things, or maybe write a mind map.
I make diagrams, colourful notes and mind maps, which helps the information stick in my long-term memory, and it also makes it more fun to revise.
I use visual aids frequently in my notes to help me have a picture in my head, and I can access and use to remember this for exams.
I find that having visual aids helps me to retain some of the information that I've put in.
I 100% use any visual aids such as diagrams or mind maps. You should try and evoke all your senses whilst learning. If you can put on a video so you can hear it, and then do a drawing so you can see it, you're more likely to remember the topic that you're using by using visual aids.
I find diagrams extremely helpful when taking notes or answering certain questions, as they often present information in a way that's easier to understand than a paragraph.
Diagrams can be easier to memorise, as colours and images work best for the brain.
I'll write notes in different colours, so different facts will have different colours for them, and I will draw diagrams if I think they're helpful.
I find that creating mind maps really helps solidify my notes. First, I'd read a piece of text, try to summarise it, write it in my own words, and then further condense it into a mind map form. So I have all the main points on there, clear, concise and easy to remember. You can make them as colourful and as pretty and bold as you like, and you can have as much information or as little information there.
The key for me is repetition and visualisation. This is a mind map I made for biology, and as you can see, the title is in the middle of the page in purple, the subtopics are in different corners of the page in blue, and the main information is in black, and I've also added any extra information in green.
So I would 100% recommend mind maps.
The main note-taking method I use is the outline method.
The main topics are written on the left-hand side of the page, and then any subtopics, key points and relevant information is bullet pointed underneath the main heading.
It saves you a lot of time, especially when the class seems to be going really fast-paced or when there's a lot being kind of thrown at you at once. So doing it this way gives it a clear and logical structure to your notes.
I do tend to make sure that my notes are very clear and I can read them. I'm not rushing them because otherwise you'll come back and they won't be any use to you.
So include titles and subtitles and possibly highlighting keywords in one colour.
I tend to make them colourful, so if that helps you as well, then it's definitely beneficial.
I like to make it as visual as possible, so there are diagrams and work solutions for any maths related questions.
I tend to write different units in different colours. So for Unit 1, I think I had it in pink. Unit 2, I had in blue. Just in case it does get a little bit mixed up throughout my textbook, then I know what specific colour is what specific unit.
I also like to leave enough space to add any additional information I might find in new resources.
After I make notes in class, I consolidate them by reading over them, highlighting and underlining key words to cement the knowledge into my head.
After lessons, I will research any keywords or terms that I did not understand and add to my initial sets of notes using online and textbook.
As long as you can read your own notes and you understand what you wrote in a few weeks when you forget all the information, then you have good notes.
When I review my notes, I usually do it when I put them in my folder. It gives me a good chance to just look over, read through, make sure everything I need is there.
I tend to make sure at the end of the lesson to compare my notes with a friend to make sure I've caught all the key information that was said throughout that lesson.
One thing that helps me summarise my notes is making sure I date my work, as I can see when it was made and I can summarise it for that particular day.
I read them aloud, which allows me to revise in a way that appeals to my audio learning style.
When I get home, I will consolidate by reading them, and I will condense them back into any keywords and definitions and attempt to write sections of information onto flashcards.
I review and summarise my notes by condensing them, so they go from a page of notes to a mind map and then to flashcards. I will keep condensing them until it's one word or one visual cue that triggers all those memories about that topic.
I recommend using your notes to make flashcards instead of trying to memorise paragraphs of information from the textbook, because I find that this overloads your brain and at the end of the day it's not possible to remember every single bit of information in the textbook.
I review and summarise my notes by condensing them down when I can and turning them into other forms of revision such as mind maps or graphic organisers.
I find the most effective way of reviewing notes is to write the name of each subtopic on a whiteboard and then try to write out as much of the information as you can remember around them. Then use your notes to fill in the gaps and correct any mistakes.
After you've learnt a topic, you then write down everything you can remember in black pen, and then in red pen you then write all of the information and the key words, terminology and facts that you haven't remembered in red pen. The colour of the red enables your brain to start making sure that that is the information that it now needs to start remembering.
I use an app called SCRIBZEE. I discovered this app by getting one of these notebooks, and I actually got it from my college stationery shop, and they will have little tabs at the top of each page that you can scan in on the app just by putting them into files as topics, subtopics. I found that the app was really easy to use.
Note-taking is more than just copying information down and hoping you'll remember it. You have to be active in making sure you write notes in a way that benefits you the most, because at the end of the day, what you write and what you use for revision is what you'll be writing in the exam.
In the next videos, we'll be sharing our top tips for successful studying, including
research skills and critical analysis,
revision techniques,
and completing assessments.
So please make sure to like, subscribe and press the bell.
Like, subscribe and press the bell button.
Like, subscribe and press the bell.
Like, subscribe, press the bell.
Like, subscribe and press the bell.
Like, subscribe and press the bell.
Like, subscribe and press the bell to know when the next video goes live.